Welcome to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer on the Salem Network. And here in Colorado Springs, the Peak, we say the quiet stuff out loud. And this is a rare pre-recorded and part two program. Why are we doing that? Well, we just had way too much content when we did the first program on Tuesday. And so we asked the guests to stay over and pre-record and to be playing it today, which is normally our media and education day. What are we doing? Well, the elections for the El Paso County GOP, Republican Party, they're electing their officers this weekend, February 8th at CFAN North Campus. And so we've put together a candidate forum. We have 5 of the 6 candidates. Unfortunately, one of the candidates we invited really late, about 24 hours ago, because the current office of the Republican Party here would not release the list of candidates, but we're a news organization, so we got our hands on it. So Elizabeth Riggs is the 6th candidate, but she will not be on this program, but we did have her for 5 minutes on the original program. The candidates in ballot order: Ken Davis, Todd Watkins, Tim Bennett, Elizabeth Riggs, Colby Zipperer, and Candace Stutstream. And we're starting this program as we started the first one. And you can go on our podcast, on our website, on thepeak.news, and listen to the first program, or our Facebook, which we are live streaming this show on, and the Facebook Live that we did on Tuesday. You can watch it there. We're going to have each candidate give them 30 seconds to introduce themselves, starting with Ken Davis. Again, this is for the El Paso County GOP chair election. Ken Davis, 30 seconds.
All right. Hello, Peak Nation. It is a nation now, right, Chaim?
Hope so.
And Chaim, thank you for having all of us. This has been big fun. So my name is Kendrick Davis. I am running for El Paso County GOP chair. I'm a local small business owner. I've also been involved in many patriot movements, to include the Cultural Impact Team here at the Church for All Nations in Colorado Springs. Looking forward to getting your vote.
Okay, next candidate, 30 seconds, Todd Watkins.
Hello, I'm Todd Watkins. I am the current vice chairman of the El Paso County Republican Party, and I confess to gaining access to the lists of the candidates and releasing them to the Central Committee because I believe in transparency. I am a retired United States Border Patrol Assistant Chief, 24 years of service. Thank you.
Okay, next candidate up running for chair of the El Paso County Republican Party, Tim Bennett, 30 seconds.
My name's Tim Bennett, and I currently serve as the House District 20 chairman. I've been a precinct leader immediately after I retired in 2018, after 30 years in the military. Been to every event that the party has had subsequent to then, and I am looking forward to leading this party. Key word is leadership there. And I just can't wait.
Okay, the next person on the ballot is Elizabeth Riggs. Again, as we explained, she was invited only about 24 hours ago when we finally got the list of candidates, and she was not able to arrange to be here, but you can listen to her for about 4 minutes or so that we gave her on the original program. Now we have Colby Zipperer. 30 seconds.
Yep, I'm Colby Zipperer. I'm currently the chairman of El Paso County Young Republicans. I'm also a Navy veteran, small business owner here in town. I'm running for GOP county chair because I want to bring in the young conservative voters and volunteers, and I want to make El Paso County 100% conservative again.
You're done? Okay. And finally, Candace Stutstream.
Thank you, Chaim. We've been in Colorado Springs for 15 years now. Our family retired here after a 32-year Air Force career. I came into the GOP party immediately following the 2020 election, which I believed at the time, and I still maintain that it was tampered with. It thrust me into the election integrity community. I am a former public affairs officer and also a retired registered nurse, and look forward to meeting all of you on Saturday.
This is Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. We really like doing hyper-local news because it allows us to do something like this. There was a scheduled forum. It got canceled because of weather, but here on the radio, we don't worry about that. And we've brought together a candidate forum of sorts for the El Paso County Republican Party chair position. Vicki Tompkins, who has been in for 7 years, is stepping down, and the candidates that are running for her position, and also there will be other officers elected. That is happening this Saturday, the 8th of February, starting at 7 a.m. at Church for All Nations, CFAN North Campus, and you can attend even if you're not part of the electorate of the Central Committee. You can go as an observer. Again, we have Ken Davis, Todd Watkins, Tim Bennett, Colby Zipper, and Candace Stolstream here in the studio, all running for the chairmanship. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman, and we'll be back with lots and lots of questions. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. We've suspended our programming, so we're not doing our headline segment or anything else because we're using the whole hour, which we did on Tuesday, also to bring you a candidate forum for those running for the chairmanship of the El Paso County Republican Party. And I should state this, I'm not on the Central Committee. I'm not even a registered Republican. I call myself a leave me alone libertarian. I'm a small government conservative, and so I have no dog in the fight. I'm doing what media is supposed to do, which is just asking good questions and giving a forum for others to speak. I know that's novel today, but yes, we are trying to do real journalism here at the Peak. Check us out at thepeak.news for more information, and please join us as we are citizen journalists. So, first question going out to our candidates, and we have Colby Zipper is our first candidate we're asking the question to regarding growing the party. Like Reagan and Trump, how will you propose to create a bigger tent for the El Paso County GOP, including attracting youth to join the party? Colby Zipper, 90 seconds.
I'm really glad you asked this question because what better way to tell you that I can do something than to say that we just got done doing it. So in February 2024, there were 0 young Republicans in El Paso County. Within less than 10 months, there was somewhere around 200. Like I said, if you look at our group chat, there's 130 something in there, but there are more that just don't choose to get in our group chat. We mobilized upwards of 100 for things that were fun and upwards of 20 or so at times for things that were less fun to the common person, like running for elections and, door knocking and stuff like that. So we did build this. And then as far as, so we're going to grow the GOP the same way that we grew the young Republicans. To me, how do you get better candidates? With a bigger party, you will have better candidates. Like the movie Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. If we have a big party with 500, 600, 900, 1,000 people potentially with committees, you're going to have much better candidates stand up. Out of a room of 35, maybe, there's a guy that currently stands up and says, hey, I'm going to run for legislative office. But out of a room of 600 or 700 or 800, maybe that guy's not going to get picked as much. We need the best candidates possible. So the party must get as large as the young Republicans did in that short amount of time.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Tim Bennett. Growing the party, how do you propose to create a bigger tent for the local party, including attracting youth to join?
I think the first thing we have to do is address our optics. We do that through no bad press. When we do that, when we have bad press, we're providing the Democrats with a perfect weapon to deter our voters from showing up. So those internal divides shrink the party. We have to work with media to show that instead of focusing on the 90% that agree, we shouldn't be focusing on the 10% that aren't happy with the way things are. We have to conduct ourselves ethically at all times. And the other thing is, and I talked to Candace, a wealth of knowledge there. We are in an existential threat, and that is we have the governor, secretary of state, AG, treasurer, and Hickenlooper are all coming up in 2026. So we literally have about 18 months before we have to fix something. And if we can't, we're going to be faced with another 8 years of what we currently have, which is no representation in the Big Four and another senator up at the federal level. So I think that telling people that we need your help, building the party from within with no negative press, and just letting people that we need your vote, we need your participation, and it's literally desperate times right now.
Okay, thank you. That was Tim Bennett. Next up, Todd Watkins, running for chair of the El Paso County GOP. Like Reagan and Trump, how do you propose to create a bigger tent for the El Paso County GOP, including attracting youth to join the party? Todd Watkins.
So in El Paso County, we're rather fortunate. we have the largest population of Republican votership in this party. I would also suspect that we have the lion's share of conservative oriented people. So, to what everybody else has said, I mean, you got Ken doing the Culture Impact Team. That's a great platform to appeal to conservative people, because conservatism will draw these unaffiliated into the Republican Party if we are an active, robust, vibrant, competent, capable party. Colby and the Young Republicans, college Republicans, great arenas to teach people what good governance looks like and to join us. Was that 10 seconds? Or
No, that was 1 minute. You still have about 40 seconds.
Oh, 90 seconds.
40 seconds. Yeah, this was a 90 second. This was a 90-second question.
Gosh, forgot where I was.
Now you got 30.
Yeah, right. And everybody's hitting on the same things, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of disparity among ideas here. And even if something that we didn't think of, the other guy brings up, I mean, we wouldn't turn it away. We all recognize we need to bring we need to bring more into the party. Big Tent is exactly right. You win elections with votes, not small elite groups of people who are very ardent about their beliefs.
Okay, next up, we got Todd. Next up is Ken Davis, growing the party. How do you propose to create a bigger tent for the El Paso County GOP, including attracting youth? 90 seconds.
First off, we need to begin by engaging. There's over 148,000 registered Republicans right here in El Paso County. I would probably argue that half of them we're not touching outside of when it's time for them to vote. And so we need to get our precinct leaders trained, because to assume that people will know how to go out and canvass and touch base with the Republicans right around their neighborhoods, it's a joke to not take care of those that are already under the tent. And then we need to utilize the resources that we already have. People like Kobe, who's already reaching out to the youth. And I understand, like, I'm a cool guy, I'm hip. Do they use hip anymore? I think they call it brat or something like that. I'm one of those, but I don't know at 53 if I'm great at pulling in young people. But we've got the resource already in our party to get that done. And then once we make it really attractive for everyone, for more people to join the party, maybe the tent will be just big enough that we can draw in Chaim Goldman to change his registration and become a Republican.
That's not happening, no matter how good you are. None of you. No, I do church voter guides, so it's good for me to be in this position. Finally, Candace Stutstream, how do you propose to create a bigger tent for the El Paso County GOP, including attracting youth to join the party? 90 seconds.
Well, I will say right up front, I think the most exciting thing that's come along in a long time is Colby Zipperer and his Young Republicans. He's doing an incredible work, and we need to bottle what that guy has got and what all these young people have got, and we have got to multiply what they're doing. I propose to take it another step further, though. I would like to build more of a mentee-mentor relationship between us old folks and those young folks, because I believe there's a lot to learn between the two of us. And what I would love to do is to turn Colby loose on what I'm calling the fulfillment or the optimization of the entire precinct strategy. That term comes from a man named Dan Schultz, who wrote a book called The Precinct Strategy. There's way more to precinct strategy than canvassing doors for candidates. It involves canvassing for multiple purposes, and one of them is going door to door to find the lost unaffiliated voters. They outnumber us. They are 52%. There are more unaffiliated voters than there are Republicans and Democrats combined. And it will take all of us, particularly as we're rolling into the 2026 election, to beat the streets and meet those people. I have a lot of other ideas for community events and outreach to bring in just the general public into the party. Thank you.
You're listening to the Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. We are having a special episode today, actually part 2 of our candidate forum for those running for the El Paso County GOP chair. We have joining us Ken Davis, Todd Watkins, Tim Bennett, Colby Zipperer, Candace Stutzriem, and Elizabeth Riggs, who unfortunately we were not able to contact with enough time for her to arrange to be here. So we apologize for that. When we come back, we're continuing with more questions here on The Peak. Welcome back to The Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer here in Colorado Springs, part of the Salem Network. And we've arranged here a candidate forum for the El Paso County GOP chairmanship. That election is taking place at Church for All Nations this Saturday, starting at 7 a.m. And even if you're not part of the Central Committee, you can join. And we have 5 of the 6 candidates who are here with us today and are answering our questions. This is a short segment. This is a speed round, 30 seconds each. The state GOP now sends regular newsletters it calls Rhino Watch, which it purports as pitting the grassroots against the establishment. Some say the party focusing on outing its own members is counterproductive. Others say holding Republicans accountable in all areas benefits the party as a whole. So where do you stand on Rhino Watch? Do you support or refute it? Would you implement such a marketing tool in El Paso County? First up, Todd Watkins, 30 seconds.
It's absolutely antithetical to everything that we've been talking about here today. It's terribly destructive to the efficacy of the party, to the efficiency of the party. And I'd like to point out that I've been featured on Rhino Watch as the most hated, most wanted rhino in the state at least a dozen times. And Chaim, if you're really nice, I'll tell you who runs it.
Okay, and by the way, I should define that if you don't know the term rhino, it's Republican in name only. If you get labeled that, it's saying that you're not really a Republican. That seems to be what the term means. Next up, number 2, Candace Stutzriem. Do you support the newsletter Rhino Watch? Would you bring it to El Paso County? 30 seconds.
In a word, no. I believe that the people who can't think are the same people who put people into categories. They like to label them, make lists, and they like to other them. I believe that the vast majority of us are actually in the middle of this issue, stuck in the middle with me.
10 more seconds. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Third, Tim Bennett. Do you support this newsletter coming from the state Republican Party called Rhino Watch? Do you support or refute it? Would you implement it in El Paso County? Tim Bennett.
Absolutely not. I don't like being told what to think, and I think there's a lot of other people who feel the same way. What I would encourage, we do need to hold our elected officials accountable, but after a session, we can have a meeting. We can have pre-written questions, just like you're doing today, Chaim, and then we can allow our elected officials to answer questions as to how they voted, as opposed to just calling them a rhino without a two-way conduit of information flow.
Okay, number 4, Colby Zipperer, regarding the Rhino Watch newsletter from the state Republican Party. Where do you stand regarding it? Do you support or refute it? Would you implement such a tool in El Paso County? Colby Zipperer.
Yeah, thanks. If you guys check my Facebook in 2016, I'm wearing a MAGA hat and I'm holding a big red fish. I am now on some form of a rhino list, and I'm sure that I'll make it to others as well, because I don't know who the author is. I'm very interested in finding out who they are. I'd like to test their IQ and their EQ. In theory, this is a good idea. The problem is, do you trust the author of the Rhino watch list? So I go to church. I'm a small business owner. I served my country as a search and rescue swimmer, and by no definition am I a Democrat.
Okay, coming up finally on this list, Ken Davis, running for chair of the El Paso County Republican Party. Election is this Saturday. Ken Davis, where do you stand on the Rhino Watch newsletter? Do you support it? Would you implement such a tool here in El Paso County? 30 seconds.
So I do receive the Rhino Watch. I generally deem it comedic. It's funny to me. I guess it's probably funny to me because I've never been, a rhino on the Rhino Watch. But with that said, I think we can achieve it by putting together a legislative committee that will report on a weekly basis what our county legislators have done up at the Capitol or even the ones who are serving us in D.C., and allow people to make their own decisions on whether or not it's good or bad.
And interestingly enough, as we were sitting here, Todd handed me his phone. He was just sent. Is this a text?
I'm not sure who.
Okay, he got it. He got a. Okay, so he got another Rhino list. Just say no to Republicans in name only. Do not feed your vote to these Romney and or Haley supporters, and has a list of people that they've judged are rhinos, are Republicans in name only, not really Republicans. You're listening to The Peak on AM 1460, The Answer. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. When we come back, we're going to continue our candidate forum for those who are running for the El Paso County Republican Party chairship. We will be right back. Welcome back to The Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer, and we've suspended our normal programming on The Peak today to ask as many questions as we can. This is actually part 2. On Tuesday, we had our first one with the candidates running for the chairmanship of the El Paso County Republican Party election coming up 7 a.m. at Church for All Nations this Saturday. You can attend, even if you're not part of the Central Committee, as an observer. And so we have with us Ken Davis, Todd Watkins, Tim Bennett, Colby Zipperer, and Candace Stutzereem, and Elizabeth Riggs was not able to join us because we did not get the list of candidates. It was not released by the Republican Party. We needed to get it through other ways, and she wasn't invited until yesterday. And so we apologize to Elizabeth. But if you tune into the first episode that we did on Tuesday, we did give her about 4 or 5 minutes in order to state her position, and we're sorry that she's not here. So continuing with our questions, this one is for 2 minutes. We're starting with Candace Stutzereem. Do you support both the assembly and petition process for getting on the primary ballot? And do you support opting out of the primary under any conditions? Candace Stutzereem.
I'm going to take a different approach to try to answer those two questions in a bigger picture. The real question here is, what can we do to strengthen the Republican Party? I believe the first thing we need to do, job one, is to close the primary. Now, there are a lot of different ways. There's really 3 different pathways to close the primary. The first is a legal approach, and that would be what John Eastman has tried to do for us. And we pray he'll come back, he'll recover from his legal challenge of his license in California and come back to fight for us another day. The second method is the Citizens Ballot Initiative. That's what I did last year in the attempt to stop 131 and stop ranked choice voting. One of my petitions was specifically to preserve the assembly pathway onto the primary ballot. It also included the petition pathway. Ideally, I would, once the party is strengthened again and the primaries are actually closed, I'd like to see the petition pathway closed down. Opting out is the third method to closing the primary. Opting out, I feel, is the most convoluted and untested method, particularly when you get to the point of the, the assembly of the whole. Just too many untested questions as to how are we actually going to do this and who's going to vote in that system. I prefer, and John Eastman himself, this is Trump's attorney, prefers that we would go the Citizen Ballot Initiative route to close the primary, because we can attack both ranked choice voting and the open primary in a single petition. I believe it would be worth our while as an entire party to achieve 125,000 signatures together and close the primary. Thank you.
Thank you. And I should have said this at the beginning of the show, but I forgot, and I will now. All of the questions are sourced. We're sort of crowdsourced. I sent out to probably about 15 or 20 people involved with the Republican Party. Plus, we put the question up on our Facebook page, and we brought those questions together. And the order that we're asking the questions was actually determined by ballot, or not by ballot, but by random choice. And so that's how we have this order. Next up is Ken Davis. Do you support both the assembly and petition process for getting on the primary ballot? And do you support opting out of the primary under any conditions? Ken Davis. 90 seconds.
And I think you're going to hear
2 minutes.
A lot of similar responses here. I do support both the assembly and petition. I think we need to have people go back and look at the why petition was created, and it was to allow those who didn't have the money to get on I guess today we would call that the establishment, right? So it was the ones who used money to get on the ballot. It allowed those folks without the means to go gather petitions, get them signed, so that they could get on the ballot. Today, we see that the roles are reversed. And as I've said multiple times, the weapon you choose today will be used against you tomorrow. And opting out, unfortunately, includes, as Candace said earlier, some convolution, and that it would include eliminating the ability for people to petition on, as well as it would force the state party to figure out how they're going to finance their own primaries without any use of what we utilize today, the things we get access to by the state. And so opting out under any condition, again, if there's a way to close the primaries, I think we all would agree Republicans should be voting in Republican primaries and not everyone else, all the unaffiliated. That I am definitely in favor of. I'm not necessarily in favor of all the other aspects of opting out because, again, I think it'll be used against what we would call the grassroots eventually.
Okay, next up, Todd Watkins. Do you support both the assembly and petition process for getting on the primary ballot, and do you support opting out of the primary under any conditions? Todd Watkins.
Okay, I'm going to approach this a little bit more technically, academically. To the first part, supporting the assembly and petition process, I wish there was a better way, but this is what we've got, and we have to make it work well and equitable for all the candidates as best we can. There is no position for a county party or county party chair to oppose or support really the assembly and petition. It's statutorily, that's the way you have to work within. You have to work within it legally. As for opting out, under any condition, there's only one condition in which you can opt out of the primary, and that is in CRS 14702, and it's upon 75% of the state central committee. The entire population of the state central committee must agree to opt out of the primary. And what that means is that the Republican Party will not have a primary election. The Democrat Party will have a primary election. The Republican Party will not. The Republican Party can only nominate candidates to the general election ballot through assembly. That means that the assemblies where we could typically have 2 or up to 3 candidates come out and go onto a primary ballot, that ends. You can only have 1 candidate come out, and the petition goes away. There is no option to petition onto a general ballot, because right now you petition onto a primary ballot, and there's not going to be a Republican primary ballot. After watching this through a couple of cycles, I think that doing this, if we do opt out singularly, just the Republican Party would be disastrous for us. I think Candace kind of alluded to this. It would be better if we want to have insular party primary elections, that we close the primary and repeal Proposition 108.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Tim Bennett. Do you support both the assembly and petition process for getting on the primary ballot? Do you support opting out of the primary under any conditions? Tim Bennett.
I absolutely support the assembly and the petition process. I think that opt-out has the effect of shrinking the party and our outreach, because currently we have just over 20% Republicans here in El Paso County, and pragmatically we cannot win without reaching out to independent voters. And what is the effect going to be when we tell those independent voters that we don't want your input into who the candidates are? But what that also means, the implied task there, is that we have to step up to the plate with messaging. We have to win the war of ideas. And I think you can do that by coming up with, again, I mentioned it earlier, parental rights. As long as we can start building the brand of the party, we can actually win, instead of kind of exerting an attempt at control versus just simply winning elections. The other thing, and I learned this from Candace, so she gets the credit for this portion of my answer, but during the process of going against 131, we had to reach out across the state. And in so doing, there are other parts of the state, as Ken mentioned, where the big money actually owns the assembly process. And the only way that you would consider, I hate using the word grassroots because it's not real clear in what it is actually referring to, but the non big money candidates are. So that's my alarm clock went off. But the non big money candidates can't get on the ballot without going through the petition process. So if El Paso County, or if we were to be successful in passing it, it would have the opposite effect throughout the rest of the state than it does here.
Okay, finally, Colby Zipper, do you support both the assembly and petition process for getting on the ballot, and do you support opting out of the primary under any conditions?
Yeah, I absolutely support the assembly process. We all agree with that. And I also support the petition process as well. I think that if we had a respectful and large, professional, real Republican Party, then everybody should feel welcome to go into that process and come out with a fair results. Problem is sometimes if you've got kind of a small group of people who are making rhino lists and, the division that we have currently. As a new person to Colorado politics, I immediately saw the division. I can't walk into that room and assume that, I get to be a part of it. I'm already experiencing that now and running for county chair. There's just favorites and groups. So 100%, if I'm going to walk in, I may need to go through the petition process. We have a lot of candidates that went through the petition process that ended up winning. They ended up showing that they are winning material, and that's part of the what we need in a candidate is a winner, a conservative winner. It's vital to address this 50%, 52% unaffiliated issue. We have all these unaffiliated voters, and we know why they're unaffiliated because DMVs aren't trained to ask questions. Are you a Democrat or a Republican? So we've got more than half of Colorado is unaffiliated. We need to be asking these people, why would they want to change to Republican? And the answer to that, I've asked it a lot of times. I came up with my own answer that I think you guys might like. It's, hey, are you conservative? And if you are conservative, then wouldn't you want to help us win? We can identify you more easily if you're on our side versus being out in a wider net.
You're listening to The Peak. We'll be back for final statements from our candidates who are running to be the chair of the El Paso County Republican Party. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Peak News. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. You're listening to AM 1460 and FM 101.1. The Answer, and we love being the hyper-local news program here. Monday through Thursday, you'll find us here, and we're always covering something in the region. And it really, because I know these people, I know most of the people, it's great to invite on people we have relationships with. That's what local news is really about. And so it's been my honor to present to you a two-part, and this is part two. You can catch the other one on our Facebook page or through our website, thepeak.news. The candidates for the chairmanship of the El Paso County Republican Party. That election is taking place this Saturday, February 8th at Church for All Nations North Campus, starting at 7 o'clock in the morning. The Central Committee will vote. If you want to go and observe, you are welcome to do so. So these are our final statements. Each candidate will get 1 minute. And so first, we're going to do this in ballot order. Ken Davis, 1 minute for your final statement.
Yeah, so once again, thank you, Chaim, for having us. This, again, has been very informative. I do want to point out, as I did in one of the earlier segments, that there are 148,000 plus registered Republicans here in El Paso County, of which many of them we are not touching except for when it's time to vote. And we need to take advantage of the army that we already have in place to help us grow the party. And so all of those people are connected to someone that's unaffiliated. Trust me. But we won't be able to accomplish that as long as we are such a publicly divided group of people. And we need to come together. We need to begin to work together to move in a direction that is similar so that we can show people we're a party worth being part of. Thank you again.
Okay, next up, final statement of Todd Watkins running for El Paso County GOP chair. 1 minute.
Thanks, Chaim. So as Republicans, again, I believe that our political worldview is pretty much all the same. If we can create this party, and I really do think it is the job of the chair and all the officers to create a competent, professional, capable party organization so that we can do all of these other activities that we need to do to get people back into the big tent. We were just talking about this on the break, to go check your voter registration and see if you were erroneously labeled as an unaffiliated, and to bring the conservative mindset, the conservative community within El Paso County that I think is very large probably, and bring them in to the party, and as Colby said, and he'll say it again, to flip seats. We ought to be red. We ought to be leading the red wave here in this state. That should be the role of the El Paso County GOP.
Okay, that was Todd Watkins. Next up, Tim Bennett. Final statement about why you should be the next chair of the El Paso County Republican Party. 1 minute.
Well, I would agree with Todd that even during the break, we had a lot of good ideas discussed. And I think that the key to success there is a comment that, through leadership, I learned a long time ago, and that is the best laid plan, unsupported, will fail, and the worst plan, aggressively executed, will succeed. And we have to, hopefully we have the best laid plan, aggressively executed, but it's leadership, and bring us all together. And Candace has helped me, so has Todd. Vicki Tompkins has helped me. There are people in the party that we can all work together, and that's the key. We have to bring people together because, and I reiterate this from before, we have 18 months, period. If we can't get things together in 18 months for success, we will be stuck with another 8 years of a democratic hierarchy here. And I just think that that's the key to success, is just the sense of urgency and leadership, and then working with everybody has a place in the party, and pulling people's subject matter expertise to the finish line.
Okay, thank you. That was Tim Bennett. Next up, Colby Zipper. Final statement about running for El Paso County Republican Party chair. Colby Zipper, 1 minute.
Yep. So about this time last year, again, there were 0 young Republicans in El Paso County. In about 10 months, there are over 200. Last year, about the same time that we started, when we originally started recruiting young people into our group, I went to the GOP County Assembly. There were like 2,000 people there. We recruited all 6 people that looked like they were in their 20s and 30s. So that definitely needs to change. El Paso County in Colorado used to look a lot more red, and now it feels like California on the legislative level. With the right leadership, this can be reversed, and it has to be reversed quickly. If you want El Paso County to start winning again, please show up Saturday and vote for me, Colby Zipper, for county chair.
Okay, and finally, Candace Stutzriem, final statement on running for El Paso County chair, El Paso County Republican Party chair. Candace Stutzriem.
Many of you may recognize my name already. The way I like to think of myself is that I'm a person who leads without asking permission. And what I mean by that is I've led probably 5 different activities involving hundreds of people in this county, just because I saw the need and I recognized nobody else was doing anything about it. So I had to step up and do it. I did countywide canvasses. I set up a 200-member election integrity team. I was the leader of the canvas board members across the state of Colorado. And the most important thing, is you've already heard, is the statewide petition drive to stop ranked choice voting. My team is ready for more. I have a tested, proven team that's taken me through all of those multiple projects over the last three years. We've been through the thick of it. It's big and it's wide and it's broad, and we're ready to take on more. And the most important thing is I have a plan. Those of you on the Central Committee, please watch your email this week. You're going to see my plan roll out. And I look forward so much to hearing your feedback on it, because I want you to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our candidates, Ken Davis, Todd Watkins, Tim Bennett, Colby Zipper, Candace Stutzriem, and Elizabeth Riggs, who was not able to be with us today. We contacted her with a short time, and so our apologies, but we did take a statement from her in our first segment of this, which you can watch on our Facebook page or on our website. I'm Chaim Goldman, the Watchman. We just did the candidate forum, and we'll be right back. Thank you for joining us on the Peak News as we do something that only really local radio can do, which is to feature an election that's not even an official election in a way, but the El Paso County candidates for the chairmanship of the El Paso County Republican Party have been here. Ken Davis, Todd Watkins, Tim Bennett, Colby Zipper, Candace Dutstream. Thanks so much for joining us here today on the Peak.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
very
Tom.
much.
And enjoy the process on Saturday. Again, this is the election taking place for the El Paso County Republican Party. It's happening this Saturday, February 8th at Church for All Nations North Campus, starting at 7 a.m. The Central Committee will vote, but you can go down and observe. And I want to mention, since hopefully we have a lot of people who are involved in the political realm listening to this specifically, is that I do church voter guides, and we're putting out one for the Colorado Springs City Council election, and we could use help. So go on Church Voter Guides, churchvoterguides.org, and sign up that you want to be part of that, and we'll be reaching out because we need to put this guide out before the ballots drop at the beginning of March. So thanks for your help. We are here Monday through Thursday, 3 to 4 p.m., so we will be not back tomorrow. On Friday, it's Dirk Hobbs and the Southern Colorado Business Forum and Digest here in this spot, but we will be back on Monday for Business and Culture Monday, and we're doing YMCA. No, not the Trump theme song, but we're having Chris Sanders, Executive Director of the Briargate YMCA and Executive Director of the Association of Healthy Living, and Kate Noonan, VP of Community Impact for the local Y here in Colorado Springs. Now stay tuned for the Larry Elder Show coming up next here on AM 1460 and FM 101.1 The Answer. Until Monday, check out our almost 200 podcasts at thepeak.news and join us here as a citizen journalist or a tech, an intern, or a sponsor. The Peak, we say the quiet stuff out loud, and with your help, we're saying it even louder for such a time as this. Shalom.